everybody, welcome to this week's Roundup. Real quick, before I get started, I just wanted to say that I think I got everything squared away with these extra reviews, and it's not really taking any time away from RetroRGB, and I think I got it all done in a way where it's not too annoying. People see stuff on social media, the YouTube channel isn't bogged down, although I will put shorts up whenever I feel like it's something more people might be wanting to see or see a teaser of. I did make one mistake, though. I really should have either made this headset video something on the main page, more retro focused, and at the very least I messed up the link to one of them. I think I got one of the titles wrong. I don't know. I knew I was going to make one mistake. It's sad it was this one, though, because honestly, don't sleep on this if you need a wireless headset for OBS. This thing is under 40 bucks. You know, the sale is still on. I screwed up getting the info out to everybody. So I just wanted one final reminder, never to be talked about in the Roundup again. Don't sleep on these headsets. Grab them before the sale goes away or they change the manufacturing on them or something. I'm really glad that I was able to get this for my streams, and I'm definitely going to be using it a lot. I just didn't do the greatest job getting the word out to people. So hopefully people will be able to see this and get it. Or not. I mean, there's obviously much better headsets out there that you probably might want instead. But if you're looking for something under 40 bucks, you could hear it for yourself right now. I'm definitely glad I picked it up, and I'm sorry I screwed up the delivery. But anyway, I will never mention this thing again on the Roundup, and I'm going to go back to my promise of I'm only going to start talking about second channel stuff at the end real quick, like you'll see today. So let's jump in and see what we got. First up, the home arcade system Supergun is back in stock, and this is the latest version that has the D-Sub HD15 VGA style video output as opposed to the 8-pin mini DIN, which I think was a really smart move because while that made sense when the HAS was originally released, those cables are getting much harder to find, whereas on the flip side, we're getting a lot of really good VGA to SCART style cables if that's what you're looking for. So you could just use any equipment that takes D-Sub. You could get the HD15 to SCART or those awesome RetroTink cables that's D-Sub to SCART with the resistor on the sync line, so you don't have anything to worry about safety-wise. One thing to note, though, I left a link to the main store page because, generally speaking, people who want to pick up a Supergun for their arcade machines need other stuff as well. So maybe, you know, the acrylic case that it comes with is totally fine. That's what I had on mine for years. But there is an optional 3D printed case. There's also kick harnesses, JEM extenders, power supply covers. So basically, if you're going to buy one of these things, just kind of scroll through the store, see what else is in stock, and see if anything else matches up to whatever you're going to need for your arcade setup. But generally speaking, the HAS has been known as the best, or at least one of the best Superguns that allow you to use arcade machines just on standard RGB equipment like monitors or RetroTinks or OSSCs or whatever else. So definitely check out the post. And the only thing I always recommend is check the manual before you start using it. If maybe you're somebody who always just jumps right in, never really reads the manual and tries to figure it out, you might miss something like I did many times. I bothered the creator a few times over the years for stupid stuff that was right in the manual and everything would have been working fine. So a lot of it's very intuitive, but there are so many extra features in the HAS that it's absolutely worth just reading through, double checking to see if you missed anything. And, you know, even if you already have an older version, who knows what cool stuff was added to this. So yeah, just, you know, just a polite tip if you end up picking one of these things up. There's a lot to it and a lot of awesome things you could do with it. So just have a read through the manual and then enjoy your arcade boards. The Saturn version of Wizardry 6 just got an English translation based off of the DOS version of the game from a fan named Remesy. My apologies if I'm getting that wrong, but this was pretty cool because what ended up having to happen was they created a decoder encoder for the text files in the DOS and Saturn versions, both of which use Huffman-style compressions. And the developer said they had never worked on a ROM hacking project before and didn't even have a clear idea on how to best write their tools or even how to inject new ASM code into the game. Then they got the hang of it about 1 month in and got lucky in the sense that other people had already figured out the text compression algorithm. So this is always so impressive to me. I've had friends and made friends over the years in retro who just did essentially the same thing. Smart people that sat down and was like, yeah, I've never done anything like this before, but sounds like fun. Let me give it a try. And they end up with some awesome stuff. So that's, you know, always impressive and always fun to read. Obviously, I always talk about how much I appreciate English or even any language translations of games, even if they're games that I wouldn't necessarily play, because I just love how fans of these types of games can now essentially get themselves a brand new Sega Saturn game that they were never able to play before because they don't read Japanese. So if you want all of the details and stuff like what to expect, any changes that have been made, definitely check out Dan's post. But as always, thank you to everybody who works on any translation patches because I just always think they're awesome. So a few months ago, 8-Bit Mods opened pre-orders on the VMUPro, which was a Memcard Pro style VMU for the Dreamcast, and they showed off a bunch of awesome stuff that it could do. Tito from Macho Nacho Productions did an awesome launch video. If you haven't seen it, absolutely watch it, especially if you're even slightly interested in Dreamcast stuff. It just seems like a very cool device that could do a lot of things. And one of the things that they had talked about doing was having like an app store type of thing where developers could create apps for the new VMU and submit them to the store and everything like that. And that developer center is now open. So if you would like to create apps for the VMUPro, all you got to do is just sign up for an account, and a ton of information for what you need to know is up there. And I'm excited to see what people come up with because I have in my head a couple of ideas that I think would be neat. But generally speaking, especially the Dreamcast community can get creative with the VMU and the stuff they could do with it. So really looking forward to getting the one that I pre-ordered, as well as checking out all of the amazing apps that I'm sure people are going to come up with. If you want to pre-order yours, they're still open, but you're going to miss the first shipment. They'll ship to you in early 2026. So just a few months away still. You don't have to wait years or anything, but anybody pre-ordering now probably isn't going to get the first batch that comes out, but that's fine. The pre-orders have been open for months. Hopefully we talked about it enough so that you'd be able to, get yours in right away if you needed one. But really interested to see where this goes and how much fun could be had on a kind of like I guess real quick. To me, this opens up the potential for what Sega always wished the VMU could be, but it was just a little before its time. So can't wait to see what people come up with. So a couple of weeks ago, I released a video about cheap downscalers that allow you to get any HDMI device onto your CRT and have it downscaled to 480i. And in that video, I said that I couldn't find any HDMI to RGB SCART converters, which is still true. The HDMI to SCART ones are just the exact same as HDMI to composite, but via a SCART head. And I also said that I couldn't find any HDMI to component video ones. But an awesome viewer of the channel told me about this one, and I had actually seen it before, but I saw how it had said scaling in the title and scaling up to 1080p, and I think I just skimmed right by it going, no, I have no interest in scaling HDMI up to 1080p component. But apparently it does downscaling too, and it worked really well, all things considered. You have to put context in mind for something like this. If you put it next to the OSSC Pro or the RetroTink 4K, no, it's not going to hold up, but it's also less than $40. So that's the context you need to think about this thing into. The only downside is you have to select the resolution one at a time. So like I showed in the video, press the button, wait, press the button, wait. So I would not recommend doing that up to a CRT. Hopefully, if you want to buy one of these things, you have any other way to view component video on a flat panel or anything. But luckily, once you set it to 480i, or I guess 576i, it saves it even after unplugging it, so you don't have to worry about it again. But definitely check out the video. I was impressed with the low latency of it. There were some issues I ran into, mostly with brightness. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't necessarily bad, but I definitely know that a lot of my friends with an eye for this stuff would be annoyed by it. But once again, context, less than $40, plug and play, basic configuration on your PC. And I really just wish all of these had aspect control. But, for that price, especially if you use a PC or a Raspberry Pi or whatever else, then, I think it's worth it. There is one more version of this that goes to component video that I didn't buy or test till afterwards, but I think it's more expensive. So I don't know, maybe I'll eventually swing back around to test another version of this just in case. But I think generally speaking, I'm mostly done with the cheap downscaler ones, unless I could find an RGB one. The only thing I do want to eventually swing back to is I think I may have found some more fun uses for the wireless RF ones. So I got one more coming. I'm going to run some more tests, but for the most part, other than like a quick YouTube short, I'm probably not going to cover the cheap ones anymore unless we discover like the perfect one or something like that. But please keep your recommendations coming because I'm going to keep like a little note of this. And as I have the extra money to buy and test these things, or maybe, or if somebody is looking to test a new one, or you could let me borrow it, whatever else. But I'll do short little quick videos on them just to keep people in the loop, and I'll add links to the main video as well so everybody knows what the other alternatives are. But I think we got good ground covered for now. But as always, if you want the real solutions, please check out Marco Retro's YouTube channel, and of course the entire downscaling section of RetroRGB was written by Marco. That's where you're going to want to go for the real downscaling talk. Anything from GBS Control to OSSC Pro, and there's some other cool stuff coming out from the homebrew community as well. So we'll keep you in the loop with the good stuff, but I think the cheap stuff, I'm completely happy using it as I showed, and I have no complaints when you consider the price. Tito from Macho Nacho Productions recently posted a video showcasing a glass and metal screen kit for the Game Boy Advance. And this is one of those things where no one needs this, but it's a really nice luxury item. The kit, including screen, can start at about 130, but could go up to 350 depending on what options that you want. And this is just one of those things where, if you work really hard and you got some extra cash and you love the Game Boy Advance and want something fancy, then why not? Tito's title was Metal Glass and Gucci Vibes on a Game Boy Advance. I think that's perfect. I think people who even want the cheaper solutions might still just enjoy watching the video the same way I will never afford or kind of even want a supercar, but I still love watching the occasional video about, a couple $1 million car. I couldn't even imagine driving around in something like that. I think I'd have to be worth $1 billion to feel okay driving something worth millions, but I still like watching the videos, and while I'm not too big on handhelds, I still really enjoyed seeing this one and think it's a premium option that people should consider. So check out the video if you're interested, either interested in buying one or just interested in what a $350 Game Boy Advance case looks like. Now it's time for this week's Mr. Updates, care of Lou from Lou's Retro Source. As usual, I'm just going to skim through these and give my thoughts where I feel like it, but please check out Lou's video if you want all the details and visual examples. And since Lou had taken a couple of weeks off, he was at Retro World hanging out with all of us, so I'm sure that set him behind. This one's kind of a longer one, so I'm really just going to super skim through these. Please check out and subscribe to Lou if you want all of the details. First up, Woozle from the Pixel FX team showed a project that they're working on about a potential way to get 4K from a Mister using an I/O board that takes the digital video signals and upscales them through essentially a scaler on an I/O board. And this is just an experiment. It's not up for sale. They're just sharing to open up the discussion. But I think it looks awesome. Obviously, the number one question would be, what would it cost? Because if it costs the same as an external scaler, 99% of the people using it would rather just get that scaler and then scale other stuff too. And also there's a couple of other weird things that go into it. Like, is it going to be a Mister compliant open source design? If it is, I don't know of any HDMI chips that will allow you to use it in an open source or 4K HDMI chips. Sorry, 4K HDMI chips that'll let you use it in an open source project. So I don't know. I love showing stuff off like this. And I also really like it when the developers are just straight up honest about this is an experiment. We're not saying it's going to be out in 2 weeks. It's just, we're just playing around with it and want your thoughts. So seems pretty cool. Some incredible developments for the CDI core. The main dev, Slammy, who's working on it, created digital video support for it, which means games like Thunder in Paradise can work. It's still in beta. You have to download the beta core in order to test it out. And I think there's still some issues with it looking a little more blockier and more compressed than the original, but this is awesome. And it could also play VCDs, which once again, it's also a heavily compressed format, but it's just fun. And this is a step in the right direction for true preservation of this stuff. So I am very, very excited. I think when this thing hits the main build, I'm going to immediately do a live stream playing, of course, Thunder in Paradise just to try it out, but that is absolutely awesome. So thank you to Slammy for continuing the work on that. Next up, Martin Donlin, aka Wicker Waka, has added a soccer game and a baseball game to the Taito F2 core. Both look like fun. Hotego did a bunch of maintenance updates to older cores, which is always very much appreciated. Taki posted a dev blog showing off the new GUI on the Superstation 1, which would also be compatible with any Mister setup, which is looking great. The Mr. Multisystem devs started a conversation on the Mr. Forums about the future of FPGA gaming. And I like that we're talking about this. I really hope that the people who have gone through the trouble to make these fully custom DE10 alternative boards would consider getting together and maybe even working together on one that they decide what the specs would be. So maybe take the DE25 and have a main module with like a bunch of PCI Express by 16 slots on each side, and then have that plug into whatever expansion modules are there. So basically all the main core components, so it would be 100% compatible with the DE25, and then let everybody make their own expansion stuff for it. I'm spitballing here. I really like the idea, and not only do I like the idea, I think it's feasible that we could all have a set of hardware that everybody agrees on, especially if it's something that's already based off of a dev kit, so no one argues about what to change to or what new thing. It's just based on an existing thing, but could do stuff like break out all the pins for cartridge support, allow modular use so people could have different versions that plug into different kits. I think there's a lot of potential for it, and I think it's very feasible that they could work together on one main module, make it in bulk to make it cheaper, and then everybody focus on their little niche of awesomeness of whatever they want to add to it. So hopefully they'd be able to have that chat. I'd love to do some kind of podcast with everybody. If you all are open to that, please let me know. I'd love to just have a roundtable discussion and just kind of go and figure out what to do. But moving on, Hotego released a beta core for Konami's golfing grates, which kind of has like a cool 3D effect to it, I believe. The Zapparoo cores have been released with some significant updates. If you use Zapparoo, watch Lou's video, read through and take a look at this because it seems like pretty awesome additions. Taki also showed off N64 cartridge loading on the Superstation 1, sort of. It did work. It took a lot longer than reading it off of an SD card, but you could use this to dump your saves and your cards too. So I love it. Progress, even if it's not for the practical cartridge use, I love that it's moving forward and that people are thinking about this. Also, Wicker Waka added a couple more games to the Taito F2 core, a side-scrolling, a single screen running gun game and a side-scrolling shooter. The Neo Geo core added support for 4-player multi-taps, which is pretty cool if you use NeoTris and the Neo FTC-1B. The Super Cassette Vision core has an updated video chip, and now all known display issues are resolved. The Amiga Vision team have released a setup for CD32 games, which you should definitely watch Lou's video if you play those games, because there's a lot of stuff that has already been taken care of for you. And the Mr. Multisystem team teased an upcoming all-in-one JAMA board. So just like the Mr. Multisystem 2 is the entire thing on one board with nothing else required to use it, same thing but for JAMA. So you just buy this one thing, plug it into your arcade machine, and you're done. So that's it. I wanted to do this as quickly as possible because this was a long update. I always want to just throw my thoughts in here too because I feel like it. But if you rely on Lou as much as I do, please consider signing up on Patreon. And once again, if nothing else, subscribe on YouTube because it's free. And I'm really happy Lou's able to get all of this information in one place for us. LEGO had recently released their original DMG Game Boy kit, which had a couple of cool features and seemed like a ton of fun for people who love LEGOs and the original Game Boy. Yet two developers, Sebastian from There Ought to Be and Natalie the Nerd, have both shown off projects that make it functional. And both of them are kind of taking the approach of this thing is never going to be something, well, to quote Natalie, don't expect this to be an everyday carry device. It's more of a showpiece than something you would play a full game of Pokemon on. And Sebastian came about it from the exact same perspective. He wanted something that sits next to his other Game Boys and looks real, but really more of something fun on your shelf. So I wanted to share it because I think both are awesome. I think that's the exact type of thing I would do with something like this. I wouldn't want to spend hours gaming on a Lego device, but I think if you had that on your shelf and people are like, oh, you got the new Game Boy Lego one. And you're like, yeah, and you turned it on. I think it'd be a lot of fun. I think that'd be really cool. So if you're interested in stuff like this, check out Sebastian's video. Natalie is working on making a kit that people, and just sharing the design files and stuff for it. So if you want to make your own, you would be able to, and I will update everybody when Natalie has that released. You could join the Discord right now if you want to, just to get updates on that and stuff like that. And if you want to hear more from Sebastian and a bunch of the very cool projects that he's made, I did an interview a while back. And of course, if you want to check out more of Natalie's stuff, check out the webpage or the previous post they did about the awesome motherboard projects that they were working on. Real quick, before I go, I found a cell phone tripod mount that's about $10 that worked really, really well. The one that I had been using for years was falling apart, and my phone started to slip out of it because the rubber had started to fall apart. So I was looking for one. I found one on the Amazon creator thing. So I figured, well, let me try it out. If it stinks, I just won't say anything and try another one. And it turned out to be great. So I did a video about it. And also, thank you to everybody who chimed in, because there were a lot of people who said they use the same one. And I really appreciate when people take the time to let me know, because I take every review I do seriously, even the ones for the second channel. This is stuff I actually use myself, which is why I wanted to start that and just get the word out to people. But I'm always paranoid that I missed something, and I take every single review really seriously, even for a $10 stupid cell phone camera mount thing. So a lot of people had chimed in and said that they bought the same one, had been using it for a while, and they agreed with me completely. It worked great for them. So that was important to me. Thank you so much for everybody who took the time to do that, because I really just think, like, I want to get all of these reviews right, whether it's a expensive, fancy retro gaming thing or a $10 whatever. But this is one of those things where if you think there's any chance you're ever going to hook up your cell phone as if it were a real camera to a tripod, just buy this thing. It works perfect. It's got 2 different mounts. You could do the different mounting stuff on the side. The only thing I missed in the video is I said I wouldn't understand why people would want to put this on top of another camera. And someone was kind enough in the comments to remind me they use their phone and the big screen on the phone as the screen to view what's going on through their camera instead of the stupid little screen built into the camera. I totally missed that in the review, so it's another great use case for it. But yeah, definitely wanted to share this one. Affiliate link is in the description. You get the same exact price, but I get 3 cents on the sale. But yeah, this is one I will be using every single time I need my phone on a tripod from now on, and I'm very glad I stumbled across it. Well, that's it for this week. Just a heads up, I just started working on an awesome project involving modern displays, thanks to an awesome viewer who wanted to help out and let me borrow a couple of these. So I think I'll still be able to have the same amount of posts and the same type of roundup as usual next week. But just a warning, if it's a little light next week, it's not because I'm sitting around reviewing cell phone camera mounts. It's because I am deep into this, because I have a feeling it's going to be a fun one for people who are into PC OLED gaming monitors, or not. Maybe I'll get through all the research and decide it's just fine. But I'm going to be putting a lot of time into this because it's something that I've been working on for a while, testing that 4K OLED that I've been borrowing, and I'm hoping to get at least one, but probably multiple cool videos out for you all. So fingers crossed everything goes smoothly, and I hope they're still sealed in the box. So I hope the ones that I just got in are as cool as I think they might be. But I guess we'll find out. Anyway, thanks to everybody who watches, listens, plays nicely in the comments, and especially thank you to anybody who supports in absolutely any way, because it really is you who's keeping all this stuff going. So thanks again, and I'll see you next week. This week's Roundup is brought to you by Neo Paradigm Entertainment, connecting Southeast Asian influencers with opportunities in the West.